Today we have a very special guest. We have Todd Duermyer out of Southern Illinois University. He just recently did a TED Talk within the past month or two, right?
The TEDx Talk was actually back in March,
Oh,
is when the actual performance was. However, TEDx deferred the publication until July.
okay. Oh, wow. That's okay. That makes sense, though. That makes sense. So you also have your own brand, Lifting Up Dads.
Yes.
We're going to get into that. You are a cinematographer and creative video producer. Is it for the university, or is that just something that you do? Or
I can answer yes to both. Primarily, it's for the university. I essentially have the honor of telling the story of SIU to internal and external audiences.
okay, I love that. So one thing I like to do on this show is to get the story of the guest that I'm talking to. That could start with childhood and then go all the way up from there if you want. You can be as detailed as you wish to be. But I always like to start out with saying thank you for your time. My audience is growing. It's a very interactive audience, especially over on the Discord, which is where I interact with everybody.
Awesome.
So, with that being said, let's get to your story. Where were you born and raised, and what was that experience like for you?
So I was born in Kansas City, on the KCK side. Just because there's KCMO and KCK, being Kansas and Missouri. Had a, I think, pretty good childhood. Very involved family. My father was definitely a provider. He definitely provided for us. He spent a lot of time working, but that's pretty typical for us dads. We are providers. So he did that. I was actually born with a disability. It is I was born with a cleft lip and palate, meaning that like if you touch the roof of your mouth with your tongue and it's all smooth, there's a bone in there. I didn't have that bone. And then there's muscles that connect your upper lips. Mine went up I guess you could say up towards my nose. So I've lost count. I say around 14 plus or minus surgeries before I was 18, and a lot of speech therapy and all that. And also, my hearing loss is a little bit due to it as well. So, kind of a minor disability as opposed to some others, but presented challenges that, like with any challenges, you either let it overcome you or overcome it.
Right.
But yeah, that was essentially. I mean, that's a kind of a summary of my childhood.
Did did so by the time you were elementary school age,
Mhm.
was that a disability that you had already like been having therapy sessions with, working on yourself, and were there certain, I guess, how do I say it? I guess social challenges like with other kids. Like, was there ever any bullying or anything involved with that?
Definitely. And I'm Generation X, so it was definitely a different time than it is now. It
Hmm.
was bullying. The policies against bullying we have now, they didn't exist then. And all the things you hear about, a commercial being aired at 10 a.m. Do you know where your children are? That was real, and stuff like that. So it was different than it is today, and it definitely was prevalent. Had numerous derogatory nicknames like Odd Todd or whatever. Um, they don't rule me, so I forgot them. But so yeah, it took definitely time and awareness and my own internal battle to, I'm going to say, overcome it. Because, like I said earlier, you can let your challenges overcome you, or you can overcome them.
Right.
And one thing, so I was recently on actually another podcast with disability. And one thing I found with other disabled people I know and myself is that you can let the challenge of your disability overcome you and be the victim, or you can overcome it and be the victor. And it really is the individual's choice. I've seen both sides of the spectrum, and that is something that I guess disabilities, but also any challenges that even as a dad we face. Because the same thing I've said like three times now um, applies. You can overcome it or let it overcome you.
Absolutely. One of the things that has bothered me in recent years, and I've noticed this with a lot of people, particularly in my age group, right? The 20 to young 30s, is people really seem to hold on to that victim mentality.
Yes.
And they let that kind of mindset define who they are, like to their core. Real quick, just give me about 30, 40 seconds of your time here. You know, this channel's new and the podcast is still growing and we're getting more and more guests. I'm reaching out to more people, but none of this works without y'all. So if you could, please hit that subscribe button, hit the like icon, and make sure to leave a comment down below so that I can tell if if I'm doing a good or bad job. You don't really know how good or bad you're doing until you get the comments coming in. You get a little bit of feedback. So please, if you could just take the time, hit that subscribe button, hit the like, and make sure to leave a comment. All right. Other than that, let's get back to it. Thanks, y'all. I mean, just scroll on any social media platform, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. You'll see people really. I don't like to say playing the victim. I don't like the way that that's worded, but they let themselves become a victim of whatever circumstance they in or that they are in, and people really buy into that. I don't know how people buy into it. Just as a man, I can't buy into that. I've got kids that can't afford for their dad to be like that.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And that's not saying and saying stuff like that is not to diminish the struggles of people in
Oh
general.
no, not at
Not
all.
at all. But I think it's just really important that we get to a place where we can, like you said, overcome these challenges in our life. But meanwhile, we're all sitting there on our phones like this, buying into that mentality. And it's made me bitter before. It's one of the things that I struggled with, just being on social media in general, seeing stuff like that. And it'll make you bitter. It'll make you bitter, some of it. Moving on to your Lifting Up Dads brand.
Yes.
What is that all about? Which, I mean, obviously lifting up dads, right? Like I
Right.
get that.
Right.
But like what are the details and like what is the motivation behind that? And what is the thing that you're offering to fathers?
So I believe to adequately answer that, I gotta tell a backstory
Go for it.
because it all leads up to it.
Yeah.
So hang with me here. So my wife and I, we have been married 23 years. And back in 2022, in February, we were married in March. So I think 3 weeks away from our 20th anniversary, we had 9 days notice that we were having a child placed with us. And we had tried to have children for the 20 years we were married, tried different avenues and everything, and just didn't work out. Um, so our pastor's a lawyer, which is an oxymoron in itself. And he came to us like, hey, I know a little boy. He has issues, but foster children, they see a lot of horrible things. It's an imperfect system. It's a wonderful system, but it is imperfect. And anyone in foster care will tell you that. And he was like, he is 9 days away from being shipped off to a group home, 5 hours away. He has three sisters. He will not see them again. Are you serious about having a child? We said yes. 9 days later, most people get 9 months. We had 9 days. He was placed with us. And he moved in, we welcomed him and everything. And what I noticed in the weeks, months later, is that I developed anxiety. And I'm a really chill, laid back dude. Even with my video productions, I add in time so that the stress is less. Well, I was, we were thrust into parenthood, which is quite the change, as research shows, and also I think anyone who becomes a parent, their experience shows. So one day, my anger, my anxiety was just running rampant because we as men are not taught how to overcome, how to face it. So I was just doing what I knew best, which was shove it down. That doesn't work. And I was suffering in silence, which doesn't work. And so my wife came to me and was like, Todd, you need help. I need you to see someone. I need you in this marriage, in raising Chris, who was our foster son. We've since adopted him. And I can't have you this way. You are not you. Please seek help. And it was a slap across the face that I needed. And so I did. I reached out to my primary, he sent me a referral to behavioral health. And 5 months later, I had my first appointment.
5 months?
5 months.
Why?
There's that much of a need and that few of providers.
5 months for you to receive help for that.
Yes. Now, one factor that I will give the area, so we live in southern Illinois. We're more of a rural area. We're not urban. St. Louis is 2 hours, northwest of us. And that's probably the closest big city, because then there's Louisville, there's Nashville, Tennessee. So we're very rural. I think Carbondale has a population of 75,000, and we're the big city.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that could be a factor. For anyone listening who may be in a more metropolis area like Kansas City, where I'm from, you have more options. So, yeah. But yes, that actually is not uncommon for there to be a long wait.
That's news to me. That's I don't like that.
I don't either, which actually is part of my whole lifting up brand. I'm lifting up Dad's brand, and you're seeing now where the backstory is weaving into lifting up Dad's.
Yeah.
So in that 5 month wait, I'm when I look at things like this, with fear, we are afraid of what we don't know. I didn't know about anxiety. I never had it. I didn't know about mental health because I either shoved it down or I used to see a counselor in high school, and I'm 48, so that's been a few decades ago. So I do my own research. I go on to Google. I go on and just look into, there's a lot of gurus offering, like hypnotism, woosah, and all stuff that doesn't work. There's all kinds of supplements. And if they work for people, great. I don't mean to completely dismiss them, but they work for me. They were either like $1,000, and who's got $1,000 laying around? So I do my own research, and I found different techniques. I found different influencers. There's not many, but through that research, I learned techniques that I still use and that I incorporate into lifting up dads. And in this process, I was also in the process of pursuing and completing my Master's of Business Administration degree, or MBA. And one thing that I did almost like a thesis project is lifting up dads. In this business courses, there was one that was heavy on logistics. So, and the professor was like, use a project or something that will apply positively to your life. So I did with lifting up dads. Then I had an independent study about, and I wanted to do more about men's mental health, fatherhood, the lack of resources, because, well, one thing my study is rather telling, rather brief. There's a site called EBSCOhost. It's essentially Google for academic papers and journals.
Okay.
Is a good way to describe it. I did a query of mother, maternal, and I think motherhood or something. And then in the next one, postpartum depression. There were about, I want to say, 800 entries. No, I'm sorry, that number's incorrect. It was 240. So I did the same thing in reverse. Fatherhood, paternal, and I think there were 3 terms, and then postpartum depression. That 240 went to 80. So there's literally 3 times more research on maternal postpartum depression, which is good. I strongly support women, but it's rather off balance.
Oh, yeah.
And the resources available that's given through foster care, and also I did a query on Facebook of, hey parents, when your child was born, what resources were you given? I think I had I want to say, I'm remembering roughly, let's say 20 responses. 16 said nothing. I think 4 said the bill. And within that 16, I think 8 of them said nothing, but then gave resources. And that's the problem.
Yeah, that's a big disparity.
Big disparity. And I don't mean to put, blame or fault on the health medical institutions. That's not my point. It's more to illuminate a problem so that we can fix it.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what lifting up dads is I went on Lifting Up Dads, my website, and through social media. I provide parenting skills, parenting tips, parenting hacks that I use daily. And as I learn more, I post more. Because one thing about parenthood is it's always changing.
It absolutely is always changing. And you are a foster parent, so that brings on a whole different set of challenges.
Yes.
A whole different set of challenges. Whereas, if you have biological children and you're raising you're raising your own flesh and blood. I mean, I can imagine in a lot of ways that being a foster parent can be highly emotionally stressful. And in some situations, maybe even more so than if you're raising your own flesh and blood. What are some of the biggest challenges for you with being a foster parent versus the more traditional fatherhood?
There are a lot of good things that foster care does. Because they take in kids and place kids in what we hope is a loving and nurturing home. The reality is that there are a lot of homes that are not. Just one example I will give. So the foster kids will see they will have a lot of negative experiences that lead to trauma. And one example with my son is in a previous foster home, I don't know how many details I should share this, but as a discipline, and I strongly disagree with this, they would place him in the shower, put on scalding hot water. He's in his clothes, fully dressed. They're having behavior issues. He's having anger. He's expressing his anger in the way he best knows how. I mean, he was 2, 3. So fully clothed, scalding hot water. This was probably in December, many times, or in the winter. And it gets pretty cold down here. Not like Alaska cold, but cold.
Right, right.
So soaking wet, they would then place him in the backyard or front yard and lock the door for like a half hour. So that is childhood torture. And granted, this may be a bit extreme. I gotta click that off.
Okay.
But that's one example that did experience. And then there's also many foster children may experience child abuse in a foster care home. Now, there are checks and balances, and the caseworker meets with the child weekly and the foster parents. And ideally, they will see the effects of the trauma, and that will alert them and they'll intervene. It's not always visible. So that's one thing that is a challenge is, I guess, say, cleaning up others' mistakes. So with showers, because we all shower, we had to overcome that trauma and help him overcome it, but not in a, dude, you stink, get in the shower now and come down all hard. We had to come more emotionally aware and even give checks. So one thing I do, and I still do this to this day, we've had him 3.5 years. When it's time to shower, I'll turn his water on, and I have him check the temperature. And I ask him, is it good? Is it too hot, too cold? Adjust it, get it right. Okay, do your thing.
I mean, having to deal with, not deal with, but having to handle those sort of situations. It was something as simple as, like you said, just taking a shower, or what would be simple to, you and me. I can't imagine. So this is a genuine question. Are foster children more abused typically than non-foster children?
That's a good question. I'm not exactly sure how to answer that because on one spectrum, we could say yes, because I've talked to foster children who were adults, and even with the 4 siblings, my son, my daughter, and their 2 siblings who are adopted in a different family. Each foster child, I think, has a different story. And from what I've seen, and this is just observation, very much like with my disability, it's another challenge that they can choose and or should be nurtured, because there's a direct relationship with a parent and being in a loving environment or abusive environment to help them overcome and face those challenges, as well as counseling. My kids are in counseling, and that's because of their experiences in foster care, because my daughter had some very negative ones too.
Yeah.
But there's also very positive experiences, and I can only assume with birth parent, being a father, we're not taught. So like mothers and girls, they play with Barbie dolls. They tend to be babysitters. I was not a babysitter when I was growing up, when I was a teenager. I didn't know the techniques and stuff that my wife inherently knew. So I think that also plays a role in it, is we're not taught, so we don't know. And it's not our fault, but it's also our responsibility to learn as we are involved in our kids and spouse, in our family's lives.
I've never told this story publicly.
Okay.
Um, when I was first going through separation and divorce from my ex-wife, she had my oldest son, Liam, full time, and he was going to a babysitter during the day. And I had met this babysitter like once or twice before, like in passing.
Hmm.
But my ex-wife was friends with this person in high school, and they knew each other pretty well. Or so we thought, right? So she thought.
Right.
Well, anyway, I'm at work one day, and this is when I was working for General Dynamics, which I had to have a security clearance to keep this job. So there was where the work was actually taking place was you couldn't have your cell phone in there. You couldn't have any sort of electronic device inside of this,
Right.
just due to the more secretive nature of this work. But I had just so happened to be at my computer and my phone, and I get a call from my ex-wife, and she's in tears. I mean, I could hardly understand what she was saying, but what I did hear was Child Protective Services is here at the house, and they asked me to call you because they're saying that you need to come and pick up Liam.
Wow.
This is out of left field here. I had no idea what was going on. I'm like, okay, so maybe it was, her mother. Her mother's not a very kind person, and she's, her mother's got her own issues, likes to cause a lot of drama. So I was worried that this was just another game or ploy from her mother.
Right.
Well, I get to her house, and the CPS worker's sitting on the couch, or the dining room table rather. She's writing stuff down,
Hmm.
and she looks at me with a very serious look. I mean, she's mad. I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, what the heck? And she's like, you need to take a deep breath. And now keep in mind, my son was 2 at this time, 2 years old.
Okay.
And she's like, you need to take a deep breath, and then you need to look at your son's hind end. Okay, so I did exactly as she said. I took a deep breath, and I was like, okay, and I did. And my 2-year old son's hind end was black, purple, and blue,
Mm.
and you could see where he had been beaten with something,
Right.
and you could also see hand marks too. Like you could see the white imprints around or inside of the, like you could just see the hand imprint inside the black and
Right.
blue and purple, and I was not prepared for this. This was my first experience with something seriously bad happening to one of my children.
Right.
I immediately saw red and black in my vision.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah.
And I took my son. I probably didn't say a word. I took time off of work. And in that time, I don't think I said a single word for 2, 3 days. I didn't know how to process what I had seen happen to my child.
Right.
So, eventually I call my mom and dad to let them know what's going on. And shout out to my dad. Um, I'm not sure if you watched the first episode of this podcast, but it was just my story.
Yeah.
My dad was in the Army, and he was not able to be physically present
Hmm.
in my life when I was growing up. But in my adult years, we've developed a very close bond, me and my dad have.
Wonderful.
After some explicatives,
Naturally.
yeah. Um, but after some explicatives and a couple of pretty tough conversations and lots of tears being shed by me, finally letting out all this emotion, my dad sent me money for groceries.
Hmm.
He paid my rent for a month. And he called me almost every single day just to check up on me and see how Liam was doing.
Awesome.
I don't know how I would have got through this process without my dad.
Right.
And so you speak, you had mentioned that men don't know how to deal with these kind of things. And that right there is a longer form story of revealing that I went straight to being angry and not talking.
Mm-hmm.
Two very tumultuous things for anybody, not just a man, right? For anybody.
Oh yeah.
You're,
Yeah.
you're, you're just overcome with rage, emotion, and you're not talking to anybody about it. Luckily, I had my dad,
Yes.
but for 2 or 3 days, I was in a very, very bad place mentally.
I cannot even imagine. Yes.
Oh, I was so mad. I could have burned the world down.
Yeah.
That's probably a level of anger I don't think I'll ever forget. And I hope I never have to feel that again.
Agreed.
So I came across your TED Talk 2 weeks ago, I think.
Okay.
I think it was about two. Well, hold on. When did I eat? Was it last week that I emailed you? Or was it the
Week,
week
week and a
before?
half ago.
Yeah. Which I cold emailed you and thank you for responding.
Yeah.
um, but I saw your TED Talk. One of the things that really stood out to me with that was men feel postpartum depression as well.
Yes.
I really want to know your thoughts on that and the how, right?
Right.
So I had no idea that men could feel that kind of emotion.
And so my TEDx talk is an adaptation of a literary review I did for my MBA, which is like, think of it like a book report of like 30 plus academic journals made into a 12 to 15 page paper. And when I was doing this independent study for this class, when I came across, I was just looking into like men's mental health and exploring what I could write. Then I came across paternal postpartum depression. I'm like, what? Postpartum depression is women only. What is this? And that was the breaking point, I guess to say, when like I was literally just reading journal after journal after journal, not even just for the academic, but for my own interest, because something I was going through is now documented and researched. And I have to say that I was not diagnosed with paternal postpartum depression, so I can't say I definitely had it, but I very likely could have had a form of it. I definitely had my mental health affected when our son was placed with us and I was thrust into parenthood. But it is very real. It is not talked about. And in my TEDx talk, I mentioned like 3 ways that we tend to deal with it that are not healthy, which is we suffer in silence. We go to alcohol, which destroys our relationships with our wives and kids, and we let the anxiety and our mental health rule us. And that's also something I'm helping address with my Lifting Up Gags brand with some resources I have on it. But I also strongly encourage doing what I did, and that's to seek mental health help. Because it is very real. It is documented. It is researched. I reference Mayo Clinic because they've written about it. Um, I'm not quite sure I'm answering your question adequately, but is there anything you want me to add? Just
No,
I lost where I was going with that.
no, it's perfectly fine. I just that was one of the things that kind of like made me sit back and was like, I was thinking back to if I had, felt any of this. I don't think I did, but I just, I was looking at some of the comparisons with it. I have seen lots of new dads be very bitter and very angry shortly after their kids are, come into this world.
Hmm.
And that they're very happy that they have a child and, a a woman, just someone to live their life with and to raise a child. Like they love that,
Right.
but they can't explain why they become disconnected and why they're so angry and bitter about not necessarily like their child, but like their life in general.
Right.
And so
Yes.
and so when you said that, I was like, so that's the only answer I could come up with. just just off of because I mean I paused the TEDx talk and I was like, okay, let me think about this. And that's, when I came to the conclusion, just my own personal conclusion, that maybe this is what these guys have been feeling.
Yes.
And it doesn't happen with everybody, right? But it does
No,
happen.
it does happen.
It does happen. So I liked that. I like being able to put an explanation to something that I had wondered about for years.
Right.
So I really resonated with that little tidbit there. And I know you didn't like deep dive into it in the talk, but that little bit just really got my brain, the gears turned it in my brain, so it was one of the reasons why I reached out to you. And I'm an advocate for men's mental health too. One of the things that I worry about with men's mental health is overdoing it.
Overdoing how so?
I've I don't feel like men necessarily need to go to therapy for every little thing.
Right.
And I worry about, because of the men's mental health crisis that's going on, because of the disparities in the suicide rate among, uh, men and women, but, four times more of the amount of men are in that statistic than women. So
Yeah.
I really advocate for people to go to therapy if you really need it. But we're in this modern time, right, where I kind of feel like masculinity has been under attack
Yes.
from society, and anytime that men are, and I may word this wrong, so forgive me,
You could.
but men just being men and doing men things can be considered toxic
Yeah.
in the eyes of society, and I don't like that. But your TED talk, for one, I was glued to the screen. I was glued to the screen because I am on this journey to understanding these issues. And one
Hmm.
of the things I wanted to ask you about the TED Talk, and it's something that you said that I really, really, really liked. It was in the beginning of it. You said, is it weak for men to cry, or is that a sign of strength? I'm holding back tears. Hold on.
You're good. You're good. You are
because,
good.
because even just this morning, I received a couple of birthday presents
Hmm.
from my wife. Um, and one of the things that I do with my children is I read to them. And at the end of this, I would like to read those two little books to you. They're not long,
Okay.
for the audience and for you to hear too. And it's about, dads and daughters,
Awesome.
or one of the books is dads and daughters. So, but I found myself holding back tears from just holding a book, and I opened it up and read the first line, and I started getting really emotional and crying. So, what do you have to say about men being able to show their emotions to either their significant other or to friends or people that they're comfortable with, because there is a stigma behind it.
Oh, yes. For me, what I have seen is that I've heard this phrase a lot with my MBA, and it depends. So, and I say it like that because we need to be, we have emotions. We're not just anger and joy and lust. We're a lot more than that. And we do feel the sadness. Um, One thing, an influencer I really resonate with is Julian Blanc. And he mentions how anxiety, we try to avoid it, or sadness, we try to avoid it, when really it's just a part of us. And we need to, when it happens, we need to like take a back and experience it, learn from it, because it is part of us. Because if we keep on avoiding it, it'll grow into anger and worse. But, and I think this happens a lot with men, that is kind of something we don't talk about, is say we share something with our girlfriend on, I've had this happen recently. My wife has been in the hospital probably 4 months out of this year. It's been trying. And I won't say who, but some family members, instead of helping us, were actually accusing and attacking verbally my wife. It was a private conversation between me and them on the phone, but basically it pissed me off. And I had shared my emotions and experience with them, and they started attacking my wife. They used my words against me. And I think men can probably really resonate with that, where we open up with someone we share, and it's used as a weapon. Those are the people that, and this kind of goes without saying, that family member, I'm fine. Straight up lying to their face, I'm fine. Everything, your wife's in the hospital, yeah, but she'll be fine. When it may not be that way. But we need to find those people that we can be open with, that we can even privately cry with. There is a song by he's an independent, I don't think he's been signed yet, but he's an independent rapper. Dax, D-A-X. And he has a song, To Be a Man. And he did a mega remix. There's 3 versions of this song. One with just him, one with Darius Rucker, and then a mega remix where you had like different people write their own verses. And he filmed this like 10-minute video with them. And this one guy was like, Jesus wept. Why can't I? If my Savior can cry, why does crying make me less of a man? Why does embracing emotions making me less of a man? And I'm letting myself get emotional instead of holding it back. But that is something that I think is that suffering in silence is to our detriment because we're not experiencing, we're not getting comfortable with discomfort and seeing how we can overcome and facing the challenge like the lions we are. Because to me, silence and avoiding is like an ostrich.
Mm-hmm.
And to anyone watching, if you don't have someone to talk to, and this I've even done recently, and this I learned as a child and teen, is I got comfortable in the dark. I got comfortable being by myself in the dark. And it was that there that I would go to God. When I was dealing with the bullying, when I was dealing with the pain from the surgeries, therapy, whatever. I mean, I was like 12. My daughter's 11. I didn't know. I knew it was for my better. I didn't understand everything though. I knew God did. So even when there's no one and you're by yourself, um, go on a ride by yourself down an old dirt road, which is another song of my dad's. I love his music.
I do too.
So you
I
know.
do too. I'd love to get him on the show.
Yes. Yes, he was in concert at the Grand Ole Opry, which is like 3 hours south of us.
Okay.
I wanted to go to that concert so bad. We didn't, but
Yeah,
yeah, I would
I
love to go.
love the messages, and I just recently had a guest on this show. He's an independent rapper out of California,
Okay,
and just about all of his music is how he talks about his own mental health struggles.
gotcha.
I really had a good time talking to him. His name's DJ, but I really like the musicians and artists that portray these various mental health messages through their music because it's so easy to follow along with it, you know.
It is,
So
and they're doing it in a way that kind of exposes the wound, so healing can begin.
yeah, yeah, I think that's the best part, right?
Yes.
Now I'm gonna, you know, you can ask my wife, ask my friends, anybody who knows me. I am an emotional guy.
Mhm.
I still cry watching Hercules, the animated Disney movie, which is my
Okay.
favorite.
Yeah.
It's my favorite movie of all time. I
Awesome.
still shed a tear whenever whenever he sacrifices his, you know, I guess godhood, you know, because it's about the you know the Greeks and everything. But when he sacrifices this like super high position in the universe to be with the mortal, right?
Hmm.
It's like just the premise of that. It's like he gave it all up, you know, so
He
he can
did.
be happy. So, I'm so. Anyways, I'm a very emotional kind of person, and my wife will look at me and she'll be like, "Really? You've seen this like 17 times since you and I have been together? Really?" I'm like, "Look, it's just so great."
I get it.
So, how has your career choice affected your ability to be a good father? Right? Because you earned your MBA, which I'm
Hmm.
sure that takes a lot of work and effort. That's not
Yeah,
something that's given, that's earned, right?
it is a yeah. Yeah.
Right, yeah. So you did that. You are also a cinematographer and creative video producer. Those things right there take a lot of time. Just for someone like me who dabbles in that world with, you know, with video podcasting and filming and production. Those things take a lot of time. So and energy and effort and take a lot of your mental strain too. So what has it been like in your career to be a good dad?
I would say so. Back when I graduated college, one of my first jobs in the industry was in news. And there was a senior photographer who told me something that I still remember to this day. And I would say it definitely applies is when the job's done, leave it. Yes, the job's important. Every job we do is important with General Dynamics, whether it's McDonald's, SIU, White House, whatever the spectrum, wherever they work. Our jobs are important because that's how we provide. But and we want to succeed. We want to excel. It's yeah, but that is one thing that I have learned, and I remember that well because jobs can also eat us alive, or be a way of avoidance from our families. And going back to paternal postpartum depression, one avenue, and I've been guilty of this, is that I will overwork and spend all this time at work and not my family and leave my wife and kids. So that's one thing that I've learned with my career is yes to excel, yes to pursue, yes to grow, but also to make room for my family as well. Because I can leave SIU and they'll replace me. Maybe not right away, but they'll replace me. We're irreplaceable for our families.
I wholeheartedly agree. I absolutely agree with that. Fathers are just as irreplaceable as mothers.
Yes, definitely. Both are very much needed.
Hmm. It's like, so I was, with me back whenever I was still plumbing,
Hmm.
I would have a hard time with shutting that switch off from work and then coming home. And it wasn't like that big of an issue after when I approached the third year of being with the company and plumbing and but I would remember being really upset about a customer or a job or just anything throughout the workday,
Right,
and I would come home angry. Like I wouldn't shut that switch off
right.
and I wouldn't separate that those two parts of my lives, and I would come home and I would pretty much disconnect.
Hmm.
Like I would still be there, but I wasn't there. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
And I and now that I'm on the other side of that and I'm, a stay-at-home dad now, and that does bring its own challenges, but I'm able to or at the end of that I was realizing that, hey, this is just as damaging to my kids as if I wasn't even there to begin with.
Yeah.
And luckily I had my wife to talk to me a few times and we had the same conversation quite a few times. And it eventually clicked.
And I think that's something that I can only assume that many, if not all, men face. One thing I did, and I'm pretty sure it's in one of my courses, is something I teach with this, is to, one, do what you and your wife did. You have a trusted confidant that with your wife that you can share, and that is invaluable. So having someone like that that you can share openly without judgment and without having your words against you is very much needed. Another thing I've done is when I come home or I go to get my kids, I either shut my office door or I sit in the parking lot for like 5 or 10 minutes. And even if I'm just kind of talking to my steering wheel about what happened, this wrong, or whatever it is in my mind, I get it out. And then once it's out, it's gone. It's done. It's time to move on to being with my family.
Yeah. There are 3 nights of the week or 3 days of the week really, um Tuesday, Thursdays, and Sundays. That is, I'm not sitting behind my computer. I'm not talking to a camera or I'm not talking to my microphone. I'm not talking to nobody. It's my family.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I have recently done, like within the past few months, because content creation, podcasting, streaming, those things take a lot of time
Yes.
to do. Not just the recording, but the editing and then the posting and then the replying to messages and stuff. Like it takes a lot of time to do this. And my wife came to me one day and was like, "Look, you have been at this for days,
Mm-hmm.
literal days. You need to
Yes.
you need to stop." And I'm fortunate enough to have my wife do that for me. She we hold each other accountable. We
And
hold
that's
each other
needed.
accountable. It's definitely needed. It's definitely needed. Let me pull up your TED Talk because I was listening to it before we started recording, and let me get to the timestamp that I have because I was looking at the transcript of it, and it was something that I wanted to ask you about.
All right.
Really good job on that, by the way. I didn't know that they did TED Talks on these kind of things.
So the wonderful thing about, so there are TED Talks and there's TEDx Talks.
Mm-hmm.
And TEDx is what I was involved in. It's TEDx SIUC. It was at the university I work for. And the way it works, from what I understand, is when that chapter, if you will, of TEDx, they'll have an open speaker submission. So anyone can submit a topic to be a speaker. And there's a process you go through. It's very simple. They line it out really well. And I think it was like create a 2.5 minute video answering these questions, or however long the video. And I literally just used my phone on my work desk, talk to the camera, and send it off. And that was the whole application process. And then the committee goes through all the speakers, selects the ones that they went for, that they want, and then so I submitted in September. Rehearsals began in November. The actual performance was March 29th.
So you had to apply to be on the to do the TEDx talk.
Yes.
Okay.
From what I understand, there were 40 applicants, 9 were selected, 8 performed.
And now is that just in your area or is that all over?
All over.
Wow.
There are TEDx chapters all over the world, literally. So I would say anyone who, to me, being a TEDx speaker was a wonderful experience. And I would say if anyone wants to be a TEDx speaker, find a chapter near them and apply.
So how many, I could see that there was a live audience there.
Yes.
How many were there? Was it a big live audience?
I think because of the rural area, it wasn't as big as what maybe St. Louis would have. I'd expect a couple hundred, if not 1,000 at St. Louis. I believe we had around 50.
That's still, I mean, that's 50 people hearing it in
Yes.
real time, though.
Yes.
That is awesome.
And then it was naturally taped with 3 cameras for the online audience.
Yeah, I liked the live aspect of it. And I've
Yeah.
listened to a bunch of the TED Talks, and now I'm getting into the TEDx Talks. I've watched a bunch of these.
They're good.
I love them. I like the messages that come with it. And there's a large variety.
There really is.
Huge variety from tech, mental health, education.
Yeah.
It's actually really cool.
Yes. TEDx. I never thought I would be a TEDx speaker, and then I applied just because my professor recommended it. And I was like, hey, I miss all the shots I don't take, so let me
Right.
shoot my shot. And yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful organization, company, not for profit. But yeah, yeah,
That's like the biggest way that we learn, right? Is hearing these words of wisdom from people that know better.
yes, who have experienced it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Here it is right here.
Okay.
Took a second for the transcript to load up. You had brought up a laundry detergent brand called Ariel in India.
Yes.
And let's see here. So since 2015, they've been doing these advertisements. Why I'm bringing this up is you briefly talked about how you would like to see more fathers being in advertisements
Yes.
as a way to help promote, you know, or as a way for fathers to also be represented as well.
Yes.
What What kind of disparities have you noticed with that? Like, you know, in the I guess in the advertising world, or just promotion in general of fathers.
So this is so like I said, my TEDx is adaptation from my literary review, and this was very much part of my literary review.
Okay.
Um, One article I remember specifically is from Good Housekeeping. They analyzed advertisements, and they had, a regimented process from 1950 to I think 2010 or 2000. And they noticed that in the 50s, the dad was what my dad was, and many dads I can only assume were they were the providers. They went to work. They were the breadwinners, and mom stayed at home, took care of the house and kids. Over time, this kind of shifted a little. I forget the details of how, but then around, I want to say 2000, dad disappeared and became invisible. And you only saw the mom in the advertisements for Good Housekeeping. Dad was off at work. Now, another study, because that ended in 2010, is that was more in, I want to say 2020. And around then, 2015, 2022, where the trend is changing. Excuse me. And you have brands like Dove with the Real Strength campaign. And they have ads where there's one where a dad is dancing with his daughter. And it's just a dad having fun with his kids. Or a dad is supporting, and I want to say it was filling a bottle of formula or breast milk. Well, wouldn't fill it with breast milk, but you know what I'm saying. Taking care of their child, and then you cut to a shot of the mother, him handing the bottle to his wife, who is giving it to their child. So they're transitioning to where dads are involved. Now, there are still the ads where dads are the bumbling buffoons. But the research has shown is that the ads, like what Dove, Apple, Tide, and Ariel are doing, is the dads are resonating more with those brands because they're in a positive light. We're not the Homer Simpsons. We're the Blueies. And we're just bandit. That's it. We're the bandits where we are involved in our kids' lives. And so we buy more from that brand because, well, they show me as a bumbling buffoon, so I'm not going to buy their products. I'm going to buy this one. And there's even more to this where there's like a mirror and a mold theory, where a mirror reflects it, like what Good Housekeeping did in 1950. These are more molding and more going against the narrative and molding society, molding us dads to be the bandits. And by doing that, we resonate with it, so we buy more of their products.
Yeah. That that actually makes sense.
It does.
I've done that and didn't even know that I've done that until you brought that up.
That's advertising. That's marketing. There's a whole psychology behind it.
There is. I've even heard that the colors that a brand will choose also play into the the psychology of it as well. Like just the
So with
color itself will make you feel some kind of way.
so with that, for my lifting up Dags brand, I specifically chose blue. I mean, you're exactly right. There is because blue is trusted, blue is calming, and all this. And that's because I talk about men's mental health, parenting, and I want to have that impact by color. I chose blue. If you look at the color of shirt I'm wearing now in my TEDx talk, I'm using that. I specifically chose this color.
Yeah. Oh wow. I didn't even notice that.
And if you go to
You
my
are.
website, my logo is on a blue background.
Yeah, it is blue. I was looking at it yesterday. It is blue. Hey, that's smart.
That's how my brand is my thesis because I'm applying what I learned in my MBA to real life. But
How
yeah,
how difficult was it to earn your MBA?
um, I did it. Let me see. I started in 2020. Chris was placed with us in 22. It was difficult because I'm non-traditional. I started. I don't know how old was I? 43. Working a full-time job, married, became a father. Um, it was difficult, but it's definitely possible. It's just a matter of one thing a friend of mine told me, and it's very true, is that for every class you take, you essentially take on a 20-hour per week part time job. Essentially, is what it equates to. And the semesters where I took two classes, one of them very difficult, was the challenge. But by working with my wife, working in scheduling and working it in and losing sleep, it's not easy, but it is possible.
Yeah. I was not somebody who was a very good student in school. I did,
I was not either. My GPA with my undergrad is I think 2.73 or something, and for the masters you have to have the lowest grade you can get is a B. If you get a C, I think you're allowed two C's your entire degree. The rest have
that's
to be B's and A's.
that's strict.
Yeah,
That's strict.
yeah.
I had to take summer school for algebra 1 and algebra 2.
I'm pretty sure I went to summer school too. You're not alone.
I don't know what it is. I just never I never could figure out the whole school thing. It, I don't know. It just never resonated with me. I was playing football. I was doing uh tech work for my local or my high school theater.
Hmm.
I was doing that, and I was also in some of those productions as well, but I was just really focused on these more extracurricular practical things than I was going to class, doing my homework. I even told my teachers, like, they would get mad at me because they would give me a homework assignment and I would do it as soon as they gave it to me. They're like, no, 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 this is for home, not here. I
Yeah,
would, and I had a decently bad attitude at 15, 16. So
yeah,
I looked at my teachers and I told all of them that, brought this up. I was like, if it doesn't get done while I'm here, it ain't gonna get done. And they would call my mom and she would be like, yeah, I've battled this same exact fight since 8th grade. He's telling you the truth. It's not gonna get done. I've done everything I can.
yeah.
It's not gonna get, he's telling you the truth. And eventually they just kind of let it go, but they'd be so upset about it. But
And I think that's even with parenting, you choose your battles and you
yeah,
adapt. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think it's important to note that there are a lot of joys of being a parent, of being a
yeah,
father. There's a lot of joys that come with it.
yes,
Um, I was talking to my dad recently, and he mentioned that he said, "Hey, I'm liking your podcast. I'm liking your discussions. One thing I think you would really benefit from is bringing up the positives
yes.
because there are a lot of positives. It's not all doom and gloom,
It's
right?
not.
Because you can get lost in the statistics, and you can get pretty upset looking at them,
Yes,
and you just sit there with your hands up, like, why is it like this? We got to find the answer, and you can get so sucked into those things. But there's a lot of joys that come with it. One of the number one things that makes me happy with being a stay at home, being a dad, right, in general, but being a stay at home dad in particular, is I get to see my kids first thing when I wake up in the morning.
Right.
They're right there. They greet me with a smile, a hug,
Yeah.
and they are just so happy to see me.
Yes.
And so one day I sat back and my kids were napping, and I sat back and I said, you know, my 4-year old and my 2-year old are the only people in this world that every single day they are happy to see me and they are happy to interact with me.
Yeah.
Because we can aggravate our wives to no end.
Oh yeah. Okay.
We can aggravate our friends to no end, and they let that be known, and that can be a negative interaction. All of my first day, firsts of the day with my kids are all positive. We wake up,
Yes.
they're happy to see me. I make them breakfast, they eat, they get up, they play, and I get to watch it all happen right in front of me. And
Yes.
it's easy for me to overlook that.
It is because it's daily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's every day. It can feel mundane sometimes,
Yeah.
but I think it's important for us dads to really just sit back and have a sense of pride and joy and happiness.
Yes.
And one of the things I fall back on, and I'm sure you do too, but one of the things that I fall back on is God with that.
Yes.
He is my shelter
Yes.
and he is my refuge. And it's why I like something, and I've talked about this a couple of times in the past, but it's why I like going hunting and going
Okay.
fishing, being out in creation, hearing the world wake up when you're sitting in the stand or or the blind or something. Even if I don't see a deer all day,
Right.
that's where I find God. So,
Yeah.
but when it comes to being a dad, like I said, there's a lot of joys that come with it. Wouldn't you
It
agree?
is definitely.
What are some
And
joys for
one
you?
thing that I heard this one time, and it's a little true that with the everyday, it can seem to get a little mundane. But we know our kids the majority of their lives as they're adults. I mean, they're only babies a little, very small fraction. Then they're toddlers for like 2, 3 years. Then they're in grade school, at 18. And then, so I'm 48. My mom is 78. So that's 30 years I've known my mom as an adult, only 18 as a child. And that kind of goes with the mundane where, yeah, it can be, but in the whole spectrum of things, it's a small amount. So taking the time to cherish these opportunities, because, well, like I said in my TEDx talk, I cannot rewind time and become the dad when they were babies.
Yeah,
I can love them when they are now.
yeah. I've recently spoke with Kevin Witzel, and he's a first responder out of I think Tennessee is what he had said, but and he was really disconnected from his firstborn.
Hmm.
He had issues with the connection and everything, and he got down on his knees and was praying after a really tumultuous time. But he got down on his knees and was praying about it, and he said, and he told me this. He said, "Lord, if you ever bless me with the opportunity to become a new dad all over again, I'm going to do it different."
Yeah,
And he's lived up to that.
awesome.
He's lived up to that. He talking to him was an inspiration.
Good,
Yeah.
good, good. We need those stories out there.
Oh,
We need the
yes.
positives.
Yeah, we do. And it seems like you don't get many of those. And I know they're out there, right? You know
They
they're out
are.
there. And it's maybe it's not hard to find them, but it's not coming across on your FYP, on your For You page, like whenever you're scrolling
Yeah,
TikTok or, Facebook or something. You don't see those kind of messages. It's one of the missions of this podcast is to have those stories be brought to the light.
exactly. because they need to be. We need to help, going back to the advertising, help mold.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So today is my birthday. And you wish me happy birthday. Thank you for that. But
Yep. Yeah.
I wanted to share some of the gifts that I got with you.
Yeah, definitely.
I think you're going to like these.
Yeah.
We'll start with the funny one first. So and I know just about every married man can relate to this. One of the areas of friction among me and my wife is what to eat for supper.
Yep.
It going back and forth. She got me food dice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like a 20 die.
Yeah. You've got, I don't know. Well, yeah, you can see you got Thai food,
Uh-huh.
sushi, barbecue, burgers, pizza, sandwiches.
Nice.
Yeah, that was one of the first things that she got me. It was one of the first things I opened up. But that's really funny for us because we do have disagreements over food. It's like, oh my gosh, I don't care, just pick something.
Right?
That's
Yes.
that can create some fun times between us. And even if it's like, roll again, you know what I mean? You could just
Exactly. I may have to pick that up because that'll happen with our kids when one wants Chinese and one wants McDonald's. And I'm like, look, you gotta work together. Figure it out and we'll go there.
we got to do something about this, right? Let's make a
Right, right.
decision. Um, I have been on a big mental health kick for a few months now,
Mm-hmm.
and that's because I have struggled with my own.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's why your TEDx talk really resonated with me, and it's resonated with a lot of people. I see
Yeah.
the comments, and it's
Yeah,
pushing 20,000 views.
it is.
How does that
With
make you feel?
that, so to me, it's just honored that it's resonating that much, and something that happened that was completely unexpected. And everything is when a TEDx speaker gives a talk and they're all published on the same day with that when that chapter is published. Mine was deferred. And because completely unknown to me, TEDx, and I don't know the process, but TEDx selected mine as an editor's pick. So they deferred it, and then it got its own like special day publication, and I don't know how exactly it all works, but they designated it differently. And when Jeremiah, the executive director of the chapter, told me this and sent me the email from TEDx, I was like, "Really? I'm just sharing my story." But so I'm really honored. Is probably the best way to say it because I'm just like, it's just my story, but I'm obviously not alone.
Yeah.
So I love that it's taking off like that.
It has, and I mean, like this comment here, the very first one. I am a daughter, but I learned many things from you, sir, with a daughter's perspective. As you said, involved fatherhood helps in bonding family. I feel so fortunate that even being busy, my dad actually made time for me and my siblings and even my mom. Since childhood, which made us felt so close to our dad and not distant. I'm so grateful for my dad, and I'm grateful to you too, sir, for spreading such positivity that will help not only dads but their children too.
Yeah.
That's incredible, man. I'm telling you.
Yes.
That's
That
incredible.
and I try to respond to most, if not all, those comments.
Yeah, there's a good bit here.
Yeah.
And then there was another one. Here it is. Awesome job. Such a great message that needs to be heard by fathers. They matter in their children's life and they need support too.
Yes.
I seriously I applaud you for that. And
Well, thank you.
it's an honor just to be sitting here talking to you.
It's been a joy. And there's one thing that I want to make sure we definitely mention, and it's with what you've said with your wife and the support. My wife, and I'm not sure who made the final edit in my, because I think a portion of my talk was actually cut out. I don't know about, I don't know why. And it may be that I accidentally forgot it because TEDx speakers have to completely memorize the talk. Completely memorize.
Wow. No prompter.
So I may have accidentally skipped it or got edited out. I don't know which. But that's the importance of our spouses. My wife and I, we are a team. I support her, she supports me. Like when she slapped me across the face saying, "Go get help, I need you." I could not do it without my wife. And and like you said, your wife is your support. We need that. Marriages need that. Families need that. Our kids need us to work as a team and not separate.
Yeah. And now I don't know the statistics behind this, but I've heard this in several podcasts. You talk about the typical, what's known as the nuclear family
Yeah.
and how that's kind of been broken down over the decades. And I think you can see the outcomes of that.
You can.
Again, I don't have the statistics to dive further into that, but it's just something I wanted to mention, because it's like you had said, it's so important that couples with children, or just couples in general, come together.
Right.
Because my wife and I, we are each other's first line of defense.
Yes.
We are the safest refuge for each other.
Yes. And it works. It helps having that.
Yeah, my first marriage was not like that. One can even make the argument, probably shouldn't have got married. Probably
Yep.
shouldn't have. Not at 19, 20 years old. Not with how different we were. So to experience the side of not having what I have now, right? It's a complete polar opposite.
Oh,
The dynamic, the relationship. It is my wife and I would go to the ends of the earth for each other.
right.
And I think that's so important to have.
It is.
And I think it's important for your children to see that too.
Yes.
Because aren't we supposed to be the example? Like the example.
We are the example. We are. I have seen so many. Yeah, because if what I think I've heard is that a boy will learn how to be a man from his dad, and a daughter will learn what type of man to look for in her dad. And same with moms. But we are their main example. Children learn what they live, and when they live with us, they either live without us or with us, and the example we give is what they learn.
Yeah. I know we kind of went off on a tangent from me showing you what I had gotten, but for
Yeah,
my
you're good.
birthday
You're good.
here, my wife also got me. I don't know if it'll be able to pick it up. She got me these.
Hubby.
Yep, these are Bible verses for a husband. And so
Awesome.
when you're feeling some kind of way, so you got happy, thankful, frustrated, sad, anxious, troubled,
Mm-hmm.
and they're color coded. So whenever you're feeling like I'll pull out a happy one, which is yellow, and
All right.
I'll read it to you. And I love these kind of gifts. And like this is the kind of little stuff here that can really be beneficial for your mental health, because the Bible talks about that. The Bible
Yes.
brings this stuff up. So when you're feeling happy, here's one. And this is Psalm 16:11.
Mm-hmm.
You make known to me the path of life. You will fill me with joy in your presence, with eternal pleasures at your right hand. Ain't that beautiful?
Yes,
Oh, I love scripture. Now, do you fall back on your faith a lot too?
I do. I do.
How
You see in
important
the
is that to
background,
you?
huh?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you were
Maybe.
continuing.
You see in the background, I'm filming at my church.
Yeah.
And um, yeah, when things get hard, I have to lean on God because He is the rock. I will fall. He doesn't.
When when did you when did that happen for you? When did you come to that conclusion?
I grew up in the church.
Okay.
And so probably about 8, 9, I would go to, like the youth group, the church camps and everything. But it's also been a maturing journey. So I became a Christian because I went to church. It was what I lived. So I learned it. But then our faith has become our own. So I would dig into it and kind of work with it and everything like that. And even shortly after my wife and I got married, we had a we were attacked by a demon, and that was a whole story in itself because we were basically it was all God allowed it to happen because He was like, okay, you're at a fork in the road. You can continue the path you're on, and it's your choice, or you can come back to me. What's your choice? This is what waits for you if you go there. I'm here waiting for you. That was essentially the demon attack and why I believe it happened. Um, there was a whole supernatural thing. Like when I would open the Bible and it would stop, and like a verse would jump out in my vision for us to read, and then it was the whole thing. But to even now, so my wife's a pastor, an associate pastor, and so we belong to the Church of Nazarene. But one thing I found with evangelicals and a lot of Christians is that, and I'm speaking generally, um, there's a lot of pastors who only focus on the New Testament. They don't touch much on the Old. But if you look into the Old Testament, there's actually a picture of an open Bible, and there's like literal hundreds of references of the Old Testament in the New Testament. And it's just like a rainbow of references. If you just Google Old Testament references in the New Testament and go to Blue Letter Bible, you will see pages and pages and pages. So I used to work at a Christian broadcast network for 13 years. By the way, probably 9 out of 10 don't recommend. That's a whole another story. But I learned about Messianic Judaism. And our Savior, Jesus, was a rabbi, a Jewish rabbi. And was all about the Old Testament, but then he's all over the New Testament. He is the New Testament. So it made me got to thinking. I kind of looked into it, where I'm not converting to Messianic Judaism because my wife's a Nazarene pastor and I support my wife. And I don't have to be a Messianic Jew or Nazarene or Baptist or whatever to be saved. I just have to be a believer in Jesus Christ. So it doesn't matter what I study as long as I study where God is leading me, the whole Bible, not just a little.
Yeah.
So I guess that's kind of how my faith has matured from when a child to today.
Yeah. Do you know who Dwayne Knoll is?
Sounds familiar.
He's an older gentleman. He's pretty viral on social media, but he's the
Okay.
cowboy guy, big scruffy beard, always in denim, cowboy hat.
Okay. I think
Um,
I've seen a few.
I've referenced him a lot because he's pretty much what I would consider, a man's man.
Right.
And he brings up there's pretty much three things in a man's life that men need to be in tune with in order to maintain their balance. That's their physical, emotional, and spiritual health.
Yes.
I feel like we're really lacking on the spiritual side.
Yes.
Really lacking on the spiritual side.
So one thing I'm actually working on is, I guess you could say, a part two to my TEDx talk, where my hope and goal is to go to churches and speak to the men and women. It can be the whole congregation, but I'm specifically targeting is probably a bad word, but focusing on men and dads. And it essentially goes into, if children learn what we live, and we're not in our faith, and we're not practicing our faith in front of them, then what example are we giving them?
Mm-hmm.
But we have the example of God, and we have the example of Christ, and how involved. I mean, they talk all the time, and yet God is still involved in our lives and wants that relationship in our lives. So, what will our choice be? Are we going to be more in the world? Or are we going to be involved in our, or are we going to be more involved with God? And we're involved in our kids' lives. What path are we going to lead them on?
I love that. Hey, you are laying a lot of wisdom on me during our conversation here.
Well, thank you.
I'm loving every bit of this. I like talking to people. I really do. And I only have, outside of my wife, somebody that I can, hang out with in real
Yeah.
life. I only have one friend. That's my brother Zach. Now he's a complete polar opposite of me.
Okay.
He's a very blunt, loud, proud, rude individual.
Okay.
But so I really appreciate having these kind of conversations, or just having conversations in general, because that's all that I'm trying to do with the podcast and with my community, with the audience, is just have discussions about these kind of things. That's it.
Exactly.
And learn something. So two I also received two books to read. They're children's books, but
Okay.
my wife got them as kind of, she was like, well, this is from, the kids,
Yeah.
because I like reading to them. And this is one of them.
Awesome.
Why a Daughter Needs a Dad. And then there's also Why a Son Needs a Dad.
Yes.
And you see, I mean, they're just little children's books. Um, is it okay if I read one?
Go for it.
Okay. If I get emotional, bear with me.
You're good. You're good.
From the first time I held you, so perfect and new, I promised to do everything that I could to help you become your most wonderful you. My darling, my daughter, my girl. Artistic, athletic, determined and smart, honest and brave with a kind, loving heart. It's what's inside that matters and sets you apart. Be true to yourself, precious girl. No one starts out knowing all there is to know. We all make mistakes as we struggle to grow. What matters is trying to learn as you go. Beside you, I'll guide you, my girl. I'll urge you to give taking first steps a try. You'll climb on the school bus, and I'll wave goodbye. I'll let go, excuse me, of your two wheeler and watch you fly, but I'll always be right here for you. When mind spinning questions keep you up at night, I'll answer them all and then tuck you in tight. I'll make certain you know everything is all right. Sleep soundly, dream sweetly, my girl. You can go off and play after school with a friend, or visit your grandparents for the weekend, or Wander the wide world from end to far end. Home will always be waiting for you. I'll help you be honest in all that you do, for being untruthful will catch up with you. No one wants friends they can't trust to be true. So be strong and upstanding, my girl. When your friend scores a goal and you just do okay, or someone else gets the lead role in the play, I'll help you remember that you'll have your day to come out on top, my sweet girl. Remember that anything you choose to do will have an effect on the world around you. Before you take action, please think your way through and make thoughtful decisions, my girl. There are times when a girl needs her dad's warm embrace, a shoulder to cry on, a judgment free space. Someone who can put the smile on her face. And I'll always be here for my girl. The world is a mix, ever changing and new, of people who look and act different from you, who may not believe the same things that you do. But be open to difference, my girl. You'll master some skills, solve some problems with ease, but others may wrestle you down to your knees. I'll help you to try till you gain expertise. Keep at it, you'll get it, my girl. Look out for people and animals too, younger or smaller or weaker than you. Be one who helps, someone they can turn to, my kind and responsible girl. Although as you grow, you'll have fun things to do, school days and friendships, activities too. Make time for your family, the ones who love you. Family first and forever, sweet girl. I'll cheer your accomplishments, little and great. Share all the proud moments you earn and create. Be glad for your triumphs and joys. Celebrate and hope life's full of wonder for you. I love you for all that you are and will be, for everything good you have given to me. You make me the father I hoped I would be.
Yeah.
My darling, my daughter, my world. Woo!
That's our daughters.
Dude,
And sons.
yeah. um, I know that's a little unorthodox, right? Reading a story. uh,
No,
it's just knowing how you feel about being a father. I thought you would appreciate that.
yes, I appreciate you sharing it with me and the audience.
Yeah. So moving on from that, that's what I got for my birthday from my family. I always end off every episode, first and foremost, thanking the guest. So, again, thank you so much for responding to my email.
I'm very glad you reached out. Truly, I appreciate it.
I have enjoyed every second of our conversation today. I really, really have. Seriously, it's been an honor to be able to speak with someone who advocates for men's mental health and fathers.
Yes.
Is something that I'm behind you. You gotta support her. You gotta support her.
Likewise, as do you.
So what's next for you?
So currently, there's two thoughts, and probably going to make this two at the same time. Like I briefly mentioned, my wife's been in the hospital probably 4 months of this entire year, and she's in the hospital in St. Louis as we speak. And one reason why 2.5 hours away is because the healthcare is not the same caliber around us as it is in St. Louis. So I am pursuing opportunities in larger markets. I personally want to live near the beach, so we're thinking East Coast, probably more in the south, anywhere from Myrtle Beach down, or Charleston down, rather. Um, so that's one avenue that I'm pursuing. And the other one is with lifting up dads. So I made it to help dads for us to learn parenting skills, but also because men's mental health is still a little more taboo. While we're talking about it openly, we're probably what 5-10% maybe. So I have mental health woven into each of my products, where with parenting skills, with AI, with marriage, with all of it, it's woven into it. But also those resources that is not provided, I'm trying to provide. So it's just a matter of getting more of the message out there. And that's also where my part two of my TEDx talk comes in. Because yes, social is great. These conversations digitally, virtually are great. There's also the in person that has an effect.
Yes.
So that's where I'm developing this sermon, if you will, where I'm also giving the opportunity for the audience and listeners to have, raise awareness and also provide the opportunity for them to get the resources.
Yeah. I love that idea. That's incredible. No, that's a really good goal.
That's, yeah, that's my goal. Because really, if I even help one dad, like one listener of your audience, or even just you, then it's worth it. Because that's helping their wife, that's helping their kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm willing to bet I can help more than just one.
That's how I think too. A strong man in all aspects, not just physical strength, but a strong man helps women too. It helps women and children. It can only make things better.
Yes, ideally. And that comes with taking care of himself as well.